Hello everyone, welcome back to Global Government News in this second part of the video series on Warren Buffett says the economy is going to recover, and we just finished up with this article here that was titled Companies Brace for End of Cheap Made in China Era, and basically I just summed up the whole situation with cheap Chinese goods, products that have flooded the markets throughout the globe are now going to be a thing of the past. And a lot of people saw this coming, and this is part of the restructuring in this new economy. And you had Warren Buffett there saying, oh, we're hiring, but only a few jobs. But see, that's everything that I've read so far and I hear in the news about hiring of jobs is that they're only hiring a few, and that is the restructuring. Can we get to those 1950s employment numbers? No. I don't think so. I think those days are gone, as far as there being less than 5% unemployment. We've been around, according to the news media and the government, they say it's around 10%. But if you go off an older style of calculating unemployment, which was, I guess, in the 80s, according to Bob Chapman, it's more around, the unemployment numbers are closer to, or the real unemployment numbers are closer to 18%. But this article, starting it off, says factory workers demanding better wages and working conditions are hastening the eventual end of an era of cheap cost that helped make southern coastal China the world's factory floor. A series of strikes over the past 2 months have been a rude wake-up call for the many foreign companies that depend on China's low cost to compete overseas, from makers of Christmas trees to manufacturers of gadgets like the iPod. Where once low-tech factories and scant wages were welcomed in China, eager to escape isolation and poverty, workers are now demanding a bigger share of the profits. The government, meanwhile, is pushing foreign companies to make investments in areas it believes will create greater wealth for China, like high technology. Many companies are striving to stay profitable by shifting factories to cheaper areas farther inland or to other developing countries, and a few are even resuming production in the West. So, and that's what I was saying in the first video, excuse me, is that eventually China, the United States will become like China, will be providing cheap labor. And that is part of the restructuring, and we'll go back and forth. But as of right now, the China will get to enjoy the type of luxury and standard of living that we enjoyed for at least a good 50 years after we had the Great Wars. And so that probably is what is going to happen in order to take the United States back to, or bring their standard of living back to what it was, which is a big war. And you got people like Cosmo, or not Cosmo, but Kramer from from that show where he talks about the economy on that. I can't remember if it's CNN or it's the one of the news cable channels. But anyways, I'm talking about Kramer, and he basically said that the reason we entered World War II was not because of Germany attacked or declared war on us, but because we had to get out of depression. Am I saying that that's correct or the right thing to do? No, I'm just saying this is what people in the mainstream media are saying, that you need a war to get out of a depression. And so, yeah, now they're calling it a double dip recession. But, I don't know. I guess people that don't really believe in a true recovery for the United States, at least, they know that a double dip recession is just a bunch of rhetoric that goes around in the media just to keep the suckers investing their hard-earned money into this phony, manipulated, rigged market. But moving back to this article, it says China is going to go through a very dramatic period. The big companies are starting to exit. We all see the writing on the wall. Rick Goodwin, a China trade veteran, 22 years, whose company links foreign buyers with Chinese suppliers. Quote, I have 15 major clients. My job is to give the best advice I can give. I tell it like it is. I tell them, put your helmet on and it's going to get ugly. Beijing's decision to stop tethering the Chinese currency to the US dollar, allowing it to appreciate and thus boosting costs in yuan, has multiplied the uncertainty for companies already struggling with meager profit margins. And this is what I was talking about in the first video, where they start letting their currency appreciate, and the Americans that were enjoying those low prices, that's now going to go to China, and the Chinese are now going to start stocking their shelves with their own products instead of exporting them all, and they're going to start enjoying our old lifestyle. And this was Bob Chapman that said this, man, at least a year ago, if not longer, when all the 2008, 2009 economic heist was going on by the banks with their stimulus and bailouts. So this has been known for a little while now. And so here you go. Remember what I was just talking about, how it's kind of like a pendulum where it'll just keep going back and forth between China and either East and the West, where it says at the other end of the scale, some in research-intensive sectors such as pharmaceutical, biotech, and other life sciences companies are also reconsidering China for a range of reasons, including costs and incentives being listed in other countries. It says life science companies have shifted some production back to the U.S. from China, and in some cases the U.S. is becoming cheaper. And so that's what I'm saying. They take advantage of wherever the cheap price is. And if you're like what we refer to as this kind of ruling elite of very wealthy individuals, trillionaires, and these global banks, they don't give a crap about countries' autonomy and their sovereignty and that. And the only thing they care about is low prices. So they'll just blow out economies, and like I said, it's a big heist. It's like a bank robbery, except these guys wear nice suits and ties, and they speak very well. And so they'll just keep going from country to country, exploiting whatever is left of a free market, or gives the appearance of a free market, and they'll continue their nice little global corporatist system. Here's an article from the financialtimes.com. It was posted June 28, 2010, and it's titled "Austerity Pros and Cons Preoccupy Markets." And before we shoot into that, I'll just blitz through some articles that I included in a video about a week ago that I posted about inequality between the rich and the poor. This is from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and it's titled "Income Inequality and Poverty Rising in Most Countries." This is from the London Guardian, titled "Unequal Britain, Richest 10% are now 100 times better off than the poorest. 1980s income gap still not plugged, say analysts." And this is from January 2010. And this is from AmericanPendulum.com, how the middle class faces growing income inequality era of psychopath corporatocracy. So America's wealthiest 25% of households own 87% of all U.S. wealth. This is titled "Why Growing Income Inequality is Bad for America," and this is from October of 2009. Here's an article titled "2 Stories That Should Scare the Heck Out of You," and this is from July 9th, 2010, and Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog website, usawatchdog.com, and it basically covers these two articles, and they were talking about a shortfall. And it says, so where did the shortfall come from? And it says, try more than 8 million who lost their jobs. And the story went on to say, individual income and payroll tax receipts were down 4% over the 9-month period, suggesting that wages and salaries have not improved to the extent that corporate profits have. Corporate profits have improved because they laid off all those workers. And you can check out this article. I'll post the link. And the other part is the International Monetary Fund on Thursday urged the United States to rein in its ballooning budget deficit without putting the modest economic recovery at risk. Amid jitters that the high levels of unemployment may force a double-dip recession, the IMF warned the slow U.S. recovery would continue and that debt problems loomed. So I don't believe the recovery is right around the corner. The economic system and the political system is unsustainable, and it will crash or collapse. But that's exactly what they want.